Chair Rebecca Bays, First Vice Chair Diana Finnegan, Second Vice Chair Janet Barrick, Commissioners Jeff Kennard and Holly Davis, County Administrators Steve Howard, and County Attorney Denise A. Diamond Lane.
Thank you. Mr. Howard, can you go over any additions or deletions, please?
Yes, I do. Additional information, C1 correction to the minutes from the 2/11/2025 BOCC meeting. The item E11 was pulled, not added as additional information as stated in the motion. C10 set a workshop on March 25th, 2025, change proposed start time of 10 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. H2 public hearing for street vacate SV-2024-00005 Campbell resolution has been added. And also we're going to pull the following items. C4, the small claims action, the claim has been paid in full. E14, the core civic contract, we're going to bring this back at a future date for board consideration.
Thank you. Board members,
Motion to approve the agenda as presented with the changes stated.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Finnegan and a second by Commissioner Barrick. Is there any board comment?
Chair, just for clarification, for the corrections that were made on the previous meeting, can we state that it was for February 11th meeting? Just to be on the record.
As stated.
Okay, thank you.
Board members, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next on our agenda today is the proclamations and awards. If you would join, we need a vote. Getting a
Motion
little
to
ahead of myself.
approve B1 through B3.
I have a motion by
Second.
Commissioner Finnegan, a second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Please join me at the front.
All of those representing Newspaper and Education Week, if you could please come forward.
Very excited.
Whereas research tells us that the best way to help children discover the joy of reading and become lifelong readers is to involve them early and often in helping a child learn and love to read improves students' chances for success in school and beyond. And whereas Newspaper and Education is an international program that encourages the use of the daily newspaper as a living textbook for students from primary through adult education levels. And whereas the Tampa Bay Times and Citrus County Chronicle newspaper and education programs serve educators, students, and families by providing classroom newspapers, companion materials, and instructional support. And now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of Citrus County, Florida is pleased to commemorate Newspaper and Education Week, March 3rd through the 7th, 2025, and encourage students to read the newspaper daily in school and at home to enhance and enrich their lives. Executed this 25th day of February, 2025.
So I just want to say thank you. For more than 130 years, the Chronicle has been the local newspaper for our community. But more importantly, newspapers like the Chronicle and the Tampa Bay Times provide educational material for those teachers on the front lines, just working hard in our classrooms, trying to figure out how to, reading, writing, arithmetic. Those are the basics, the foundation blocks, and newspapers like the Chronicle and Tampa Bay Times provide that as an opportunity. We actually provide our services, and so does the Times, free to every Citrus County school building. So every student in Citrus County has the access to that material for teachers to be using as a manipulative, as a learning aid for them. And so we just appreciate you guys recognizing that. Thank you.
Those representing Keep Citrus County Beautiful, the Rotary Club of Central Citrus County, if you could please come forward. Whereas to recognize those individuals and organizations that have volunteered their time and efforts to preserve our county's natural beauty, Keep Citrus County Beautiful created the Pride Award to recognize their contributions to reducing litter, promoting recycling, and beautifying our county, our community. And now, therefore, It is with great appreciation that the Keep Citrus County Beautiful Pride Award is presented to the Rotary Club of Central Citrus County in recognition of its commendable participation in the Citrus County Florida Adopt a Highway Program Be Somebody campaign with its diligent cleanup of litter along a 2.5-mile segment of Lecanto Highway in support of the campaign's goal of Beautify Citrus, executed this 25th day of February 2025.
Well, I appreciate the recognition, of course. We, in Rotary, we're here to serve the community locally as well as internationally. And of course, we don't do it for recognition, but it is nice to be recognized. And it is a project we've been doing for a number of years. And I'd like to particularly thank our past president, Roger Carlson, who heads up the program and coordinates it with the county. And so without his efforts, we probably wouldn't have gone forward with this program. So thank you, and thank you for the recognition.
And I'm going to say on behalf of Keep Citrus County Beautiful, thank you for the partnership again with the county as we continue this award to be given out to our community. It's based on recycling, beautification, and I'm forgetting one. But we look all across the county and see all these wonderful organizations and individuals that are out there helping to keep our area picked up, cleaned up, and making changes on their own or in a partnership if they can. So thank you again for the Board of County Commissioners and your partnership.
Those representing Irish American Heritage Month, if you could please come forward. Whereas by 1776, nearly 300,000 Irish nationals had immigrated to the American colonies and played a crucial role in America's war for independence. 5 signers of the Declaration of Independence were of Irish descent, and 3 signers were Irish-born. And whereas Irish Americans helped to fashion a system of government for our young nation, 22 presidents have proudly proclaimed their Irish American heritage. And whereas Irish Americans, since America's inception, have provided and continue to provide leadership and service to this nation's political, business, and religious establishment. It is fitting and proper to celebrate the rich cultural heritage and the many valuable contributions of Irish Americans. Now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of Citrus County, Florida, does hereby proclaim the month of March 2025 as Irish American Heritage Month, executed this 25th day of February 2025.
Chairwoman Rebecca Bays, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, Jill Rich, good afternoon. On behalf of the Irish American community in Florida and the Ancient Order of Hibernians, the oldest and largest Irish organization in the world, tracing our roots back to the 1500s as the Ribbon Societies, I would like to express my gratitude for your kind consideration in designating March as Irish American Heritage Month. St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, is without question the biggest celebration of a national day across the globe. Throughout American and Canadian cities, in Ireland, in the United Kingdom and Germany, in Norway and Denmark, in Australia and New Zealand, in South Korea, Japan, Nigeria, Grenada, and even on the Caribbean island of Montserrat, the only other country in the world to declare St. Patrick's Day a national holiday, people will be celebrating this occasion and proclaiming themselves Irish for the day. This proclamation coincides with festivities that are currently underway as Irish Americans once again gather to celebrate their heritage throughout the state of Florida. During the month of March, Irish Floridians proudly reflect on the legacy of their Irish forebears who have contributed significantly in the areas of education, business, sports, literature, science, engineering, medicine, law enforcement, and the arts. These are just some of the contributions that have been made, not only by the Irish, but by so many ethnic and racial groups who came to the United States from the four corners of this world and who have assisted in developing this great country of ours. As the current National AOH Deputy Secretary, the Florida State Secretary, past National Director of the Southern States, and past Florida State President of the Ancient Order of Hibernians, I would like to acknowledge the esteemed honor the county commissioners have bestowed upon all Irish Americans living within this community in the great state of Florida. Goramahagat August Lo Ella Podrick Fay Honigwich. Thank you and have a happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you all.
H1. Next on our agenda are time certains, and we're on H1, which is informational purposes only presentation by the one and only Michelle Alford, the best housing service director in all of Florida.
Thank you.
The United States.
And the Gulf of America.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Michelle Alford, Housing Services Director. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present today. I'm going to give an overview of our programs and some updates. If you have any questions through my presentation, please just stop me and ask. First, I'm going to say we are by far not the homeless experts of the county. However, I'm very proud to say that the majority of our grants that we do administer here in Citrus County, they help assist keep families in their homes and help to prevent the financial burdens that could potentially lead up to homelessness. So, second. There we go. So, the mission of Housing Services is to increase the quantity and quality of decent, safe, and affordable housing stock for the county's very low, and moderate income families. I'm going to say we are a very compassionate group of 12. We are a fully grant-funded division. I don't think a lot of folks in the community know that. We administer state and federally funded housing and now I'm going to say related grants. So I'm going to start off with our SHIP program. That's our State Housing Initiatives Partnership Grant. That is a state-funded program that we receive from Florida Housing Finance Corporation. The funding that we get through SHIP comes from dock stamp taxes on real estate transactions. So I'm going to go through some of the programs that we do, and I'll stick in a stat here and there. So first, we help with emergency home repairs for our low-income families. We can help things under emergency home repairs like a leaking roof, an AC unit that's not working, a failed well or septic. We can help with home rehabilitation. That kind of works like a weatherization program. So we can go in and we could help just make the home more energy efficient, which in turn then helps reduce costs for the homeowners. We can put on a new roof. And we know with the rising costs with our insurance, that can help also reduce some of the insurance costs for our families. Another one of our big programs that I'm very proud of is our not-for-profit first-time homebuyers program. That program, we work directly with Habitat for Humanity of Citrus County. We just recently awarded them $600,000, and this is the second. We've been actually awarding them money for 25 years, but the recent award was $600,000. That's going to help 30 low-income families on the road to homeownership, which may not have been able to actually go forward to homeownership opportunity. Mandatory utility connection. That's where if the county goes in and we as the county or the cities go in and the families get a mandatory utility connection and they get that 665-day letter. we can help those families with the hookups and those connection fees. We actually go in, we will get the contractor, we will connect right to the house. Also is our disaster assistance. This is where we can go in and help hurricane impact or disaster impact families. If there is an executive order, obviously we would have to go through, they have to go through insurance and FEMA first, but then we can go in afterwards and hopefully we can make those families whole with home repairs to their homes. The rental strategy side of our SHIP program is we have three strategies. One is special needs. We have been working with special needs homes such as Key Training Center. We can go in and help rehab those homes. So that is one area where we use our SHIP funding. Also is with rental developments. A lot of people don't know when our affordable housing developers apply for the tax credit program through Florida Housing Finance. They need a local government match. Well, that's where our grant funding can go in and be that local government match. It is a required, with our size of a county, we would have to do $340,000. Recently, our most recent project was the Cardinal Oaks project in Homosassa. We're hoping we're going to see groundbreaking soon on that one. That is going to be 160 units of affordable housing for our Citrus County residents.
How many affordable housing development units do we have throughout our county?
I knew you were going to ask that question. So right now we have, let's see here, we have 18 affordable housing developments in Citrus County. 12 of them provide USDA subsidies. So that would be for our very low income families. So their rent would be based on their income. So they wouldn't be paying more than 30% of their annual income on their rent.
And how do the other?
Basically, those are developments that are under the tax credit program. So those developments, families can go up to an 80% AMI, but it is listed as affordable housing and they can't exceed fair market rents as established from HUD.
And every unit in there meets that criteria, right? It's not.
That is correct.
So these particular 18 units all are subsidized from the tax rolls, from the property tax rolls?
Basically, yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
So they get a very low market value and that's set in place for 30 years?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And then also our disaster assistance under rental. So last year we helped 20 families that were impacted after the hurricane. We spent $65,000 helping families either get into affordable housing, helping with down payment assistance, or also we partnered with United Way, which was an excellent partnership where we were able to get families quickly into hotels until we were able to supply them with permanent housing. So that is another area where we can help with our SHIP program. So moving on.
Can I ask one other question? Do
yes.
you know, is there a dollar amount that goes on all of that assistance that we're?
Each strategy has a set amount. Like for instance, for our emergency home repair, we can expend up to $25,000. It's the same with our disaster assistance. Rehab, we can spend up to $35,000. If our local housing assistance plan, each strategy, we have adopted a dollar amount that we can go up to for each of those strategies.
And how much are we subsidizing total in a year's time?
I can tell you that. So basically last year I have that dollar amount. So last year with our SHIP program, we put out, bear with me 1 second, I know I have that dollar amount here. I think it was 1.3 million if I'm correct. Just over 1.3 million we put out in SHIP funding to our residents of Citrus County.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So moving on to our LIHEAP program, that's our Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, federally funded through the Department of Commerce. That program assists with home heating and cooling costs. Families can get assistance twice a year. They can get a regular home energy, so that would be and home energy, it's family dynamic. The amount they would get is different per family. It's how much money you make, how many people are in the household, if you have children, disabled, seniors. So that would be once a year, and they also can get crisis, which is a past due bill, a deposit, shut off. That is a first come, first qualified, first serve program by appointment only. If there is an emergency, though, if there's a medical emergency, we do assist folks on a walk-in basis, and there's income requirements. So for fiscal year 2024, we helped 922 families in our community. That was at $727,000. Moving on is our Housing Choice Voucher Program. That is also a federally funded program that comes down through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. Provides rental subsidies. It's a voucher program. Right now, we have 153 voucher holders, 231 on the waiting list. That program opens probably once every 2 years. Right now on this program, about 75% of our folks that have a housing choice voucher are disabled. 41% of those are elderly.
Commissioner Finnegan?
Is that Section 8? Is that what you're talking about?
Housing choice voucher, Section 8.
Okay.
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Similar to our Section 8 program, Housing Choice Voucher is our HUD VASH program. That is specifically for our veterans. That's Veterans Affairs Supportive Housing. The only difference with this program, its requirement is case management. So we get the support of the Tampa VA for this, and the Tampa VA is who provides the case management for this. Right now, we have 97 vouchers, so we were just recently awarded 10. This program, we do have to apply for on a yearly basis. So that's how we get our vouchers. Usually the last year or two, we've been getting about 10 a year. Our septic incentive upgrade program. This is where we can help. This is one of our grants that there is no income requirement. Anybody in the county could apply. It's a state-funded grant through the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Again, no income criteria. To be able to apply for this grant, you have to be in a Priority Springs focus area of Citrus County. It is not for new construction. This grant right now, our current award is $3.9 million. So we just got additional funding. Very happy to hear about that. That will assist 511 Citrus County residents. We do have future grant opportunities, so we've already applied for 2 more grants. So we are moving very quickly through this program, so we have high hopes of getting additional funding for our Citrus County residents. Future grant opportunities. I know I came and asked for permission to apply for CDBG, our Community Development Block Grant. From the time I submitted this, we did receive our award letter. Citrus County will be receiving $750,000, which will be administering in our housing divisions. We're very excited about that. That grant can help low to moderate income families with home rehab. You can do a little more with this grant. You can actually help do like hurricane impact windows and doors. We're hoping we can help at least a dozen of our residents with this program. This one I'm very excited about. We just heard about this opportunity. It is the Housing Stability Grant for School Children. This is a grant if families who have school-age children that are homeless. So this is where we can assist them, and it's similar to a voucher program. So we can help them with rental assistance. There is a time limit. They can only be on the program for 24 months. Required case management. So if we are awarded, and I'm hoping I'll be coming before you March 25th asking for authorization to apply, we would have to go into an MOU with the school, which I've already talked to them. They're very excited about this opportunity. And they would be the referral for this program of the families, and then we would have to go into an MOU with a nonprofit. The nonprofit would be responsible for the ongoing case management to get the families so they can sustain their housing and they can then get off the program so we can move another family onto it. It is my understanding that only 3 communities are going to get this grant this year. Hernando County was the pilot, so I'm hoping their sister county next door could to get this grant. So we're anxious on that one. So I'll be back on the 25th of March to be asking for permission to apply. And then finally, our flood mitigation assistance program. I know at the last meeting, our families have been moved over to Elevate Florida. We do have one family That was an LLC that we're applying for, but we do anticipate on a yearly basis to continue to move on and help our residents with that program as well.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Kennard.
Michelle, do we know, I know the plan by the state is to have all of these mitigation projects completed by the end of next year
18
or the end of
months.
next summer.
Yes.
Do we know when awards will be made, when people will be notified whether or not they were successful with their application?
For the Elevate Florida. I do believe it's going to be fairly quickly. Families have already gotten their case manager, and they're already being requested documents. I feel they should, I'm hoping, I can't quote that, but I do think once they apply, it should be within the month or so.
Oh, wow.
It's,
Very good.
they're moving quickly with this, so.
I've encouraged a lot of people to reach out and apply.
So I know at our last meeting, I think we only had like 43 families apply. The last I got reported, we were up to 139.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so
That's great news. Thank you.
hopefully we'll get some more.
And Michelle, whatever happened to the one loan on the SBA for the housing? Did that kind of go away?
For SBA. So all the families that have applied for Elevate Florida, they are going to Florida, the FDEM will be working directly with those families to help get them the SBA funding. So that's actually a really good benefit of this program.
So that's somewhere between like 2.5% to, I think it's 4.5%.
Correct.
And
And if they have mortgages, if the family has a current mortgage, they can actually pay off their mortgage and roll this into this loan. So that's a huge benefit.
okay. But that is still in play.
That is correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then just my final slide, of course, I always like to put numbers out there. So last fiscal year 2024, Housing Services expended a total of $4.5 million in grant funding that directly assisted our citizens of Citrus County. And there are some of my stats, so. Be it.
Well, again, I said it when you walked up here. I think you by far one of the best housing directors. I used to hate these programs, but you've changed my mind. I think this is good work, and I think most of it is a testament to what you've done with the department, so thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
All right, next on our list is a public hearing for SB-2024-00005 Campbell, and I think Joanna Katu is on deck.
I don't want to complain. I always have to follow Michelle, and she's impossible to follow. Those are such good things to hear. Is Ms. Campbell here in the audience? Okay. It's up to you if you want to give a presentation. This is a request for a vacate, or you can be here for questions, whatever you'd rather.
I just can't in case there's questions.
Okay, no problem. I'll go ahead then. This is a request to vacate a 20-foot alley in Block 180, Unit 4 of Homosassa. There's the alley in that picture, but I'll have another one in just a moment. So you can see the alley on this map. It runs between Acacia and Bavarian there to the south. And this is the alley on the map. The applicant owns the property on either side. There is another house on the east side of the alley, and there is an authorization. They're part of this application. And this is the end of Acacia. It does not continue past the alley. It dead ends. Bavarian is the same way to the south. So in reality, this is where the alley is. You really wouldn't know this is an alley on their property. Utility companies have provided letters. They have no concern about this application. Staff has reviewed it, including environmental health staff, and there's no concerns, and we recommend approval.
Board members?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just for clarity, you said there's more than one property owner, though?
There
involved?
is. There's another property owner to the south and on the east side of the alley, and they have also been part of this application. So you can see the second house there on the lower where lots 16 and 17 are, and they're actually approving this as well.
Okay, so it's already been figured out who?
It divides in
Who's
half
taking
by
this money?
statute,
Okay.
and then they can do whatever they want to afterwards.
Okay,
Yes.
just wanted to make sure. I was
Appreciate
sure
that.
that this was all the,
Thank
I's
you.
and T's.
Okay. Do you have any questions for the applicant? No. Okay.
Did you want to add anything, Ms. Campbell? Did I miss anything? Okay.
I just own the property on both sides, and I just kind of wanted to be able to go through.
No problem. Thank you.
So,
Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone wishing to address the board on this matter?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Dr. Carmen Kubitschek of Inverness Village 4. I know I'm a thorn in each one of you's side, but I don't want you to forget IV4. I would like to know.
Is this germane to this?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I thought it was
we're
open to the
just-
public
Open to the public just on this issue?
on this subject.
Yes, ma'am.
I apologize.
That's okay. Is there anyone else wishing to address this on H2? Seeing none. Is there
Madam
any
Chair?
Go ahead. Commissioner Finnegan.
I'll make a motion to approve SV 2024-00005 Campbell.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Finnegan and a second by Commissioner Davis. If there's no further board discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I would like to see if we can pull C10 for discussion, just a brief discussion, but otherwise I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda minus C10.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda to pull C10 for discussion. I have a motion by Commissioner Kennard and a second by Commissioner Finnegan. Is there any public input? If none, all those in favor, well, do you want to talk about C10 first?
I
No?
think we
All right.
handle this first.
All
then
those in
we'll go
favor
C10.
signify by saying aye.
Aye. Okay, I'll make this brief. Obviously, the last board meeting, I brought forward an agenda item to do away with the previous PACE loan resolution the board had passed. There was no support for that, and there was some discussion about removing solar panels for PACE eligibility, and which I'm fine with that. I think in general, the comments seem to be favorable to doing that. So I guess the reason I want to talk about this separately is, what's the purpose of the workshop? If we just want to, if we're going to keep the PACE resolution in place, but we want to remove solar panels from eligibility, then I don't see why we couldn't just put that on the agenda for a vote and move forward with it. I don't know what else we'll talk about it at our workshop. I mean, certainly, obviously, we'll go if we're going to have a workshop, but if that's all that there is to it, then maybe we just need an agenda item to remove solar panels.
I thought the workshop, in my opinion, would be good because I think it would be an opportunity to inform the public so there's no misconceptions about how it works and what it can be for. So that was really my purpose and intent behind it. I thought if there's confusion on people that would like to use this program, and then also I think there was a list that was on there. I thought it would be nice, you know, if there's a problem, it would give those individuals an opportunity to come forward and air their grievances.
Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
In a compromise, could we do a time certain, just like Ms. Alford just did a presentation? Would you maybe have them just present and?
That works for me as well.
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, I wasn't opposed to it. I just thought, yeah, I guess to expedite things, but I'm fine though. Time certain's fine.
Can we facilitate just doing a time certain?
Who do you want to hear from?
The group from PACE to come do a presentation.
I think there's four providers. So you want all four providers
They
invited?
can decide. I think they had decided then that one or two of them, that they didn't all four need to come on the workshop. Mr. Howard, the attorney is looking at you.
We'll make it happen.
Okay. All right, so we'll just bring this back as a time certain. And do we have time to get it on now for the March 25th? I mean, is that work for a time certain as opposed to as a workshop?
I think we can make it happen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Open to the public. We're at our first open to the public. Now, Mrs. Carr, you can come up.
Again, I'm Dr. Carmen Kubitschek in Venice Village 4. I'm just requesting information and a response from the FDLE. I don't know if you have any, but I would like an update. I did talk to Commissioner Davis, and I guess that's still in the process of investigation. And supposedly they are interviewing homeowners that would fit their bill, whatever that is. And it's been 2 years. So I just want to know what's going on with that. We've had homeowners that can't get COs on Walker because of electricity and water. So I would like to know if there's any investigation on that and what's going on, with the contractor. And I mean, basically, it's a real hot mess. We do have some concerns of homes that are partially built but not finished, and the potential for squatters, which would be a detriment to our community. And our roads continue to be, dangerous to drive on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Howard, can you work with the building department to look into some of these
We will,
issues?
yeah, we'll follow up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My only comment, if I may, Madam Chair, is that it's only been a year. It hasn't been 2 years, and FDLE picked it up sometime in the summer, so it's been less than a year for them.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the board? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Labriola. I live in Inverness, and I was out of town last couple of weeks ago, so I've missed your meetings, including your library governing body meeting. But I did watch it on video, and just to rest assured, I'm not here to complain about myself not being appointed, but I was rather disturbed by a longtime member, Elaine Clyde, being removed from the board. And I felt that the way it was done was inappropriate. I believe, the chairwoman, Rebecca Bays, mentioned something that she hadn't read a book, but I don't believe that Elaine Clyde was reached out to verify that. If she had reached out to her, or if anybody had a concern about Elaine Clyde's not reading the book, they could have reached out to her rather than base it on somebody's hearsay. I did speak to her since. The issue was that she didn't read the entire book because she received excerpts from that book, and she felt that based on the excerpts alone, that book was inappropriate. So I felt it would have been appropriate for the board to reach out to her and find out what actually happened in that situation, rather than just rely on a third party. Elaine Clyde had been a very effective and good member of that body. She was really a champion for parental rights and family values. She was the one that made the motion to end the library system's membership in the American Library Association. She also opposed the LGBT pride displays, and she was very vocal on removing the inappropriate items from the youth section. So I feel like it was a real, an unfortunate thing that happened. I feel that it needs to be remedied. So I did speak to Elaine, as I said, since that happened, and she will be reapplying. So I would hope that you would all reconsider the next time and reappoint her to that body. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else wishing to address the board?
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time. Really quick, just trying to see if I could bring
Could we get your
forward-
name for the record? and
Absolutely,
address?
Stephen Palacio. I actually live in Seminole County.
Thank you.
So I've got a client of mine that he actually purchased a piece of property here, tax detail, and it has a cross-attaching lien from a previous owner who owns 2 parcels. So I'm trying to see if there's any way that we could get that lien removed. The actual property itself doesn't have any violations, but the other 2 properties do. So problem is that my client can't go in and cure a violation that he doesn't own a property to. I could give you all the further details, maybe in an email or some other sort of memorandum, but I was informed just to come here and kind of present the item to you guys.
Madam Attorney, where would he best find a remedy?
So the only body at this point in time, since it's an existing lien, that can remove that lien is the Board of County Commissioners. So if the board wants to hear the matter or consider the matter, you can direct staff to prepare it as part of your next agenda. The board is the only entity that can release the lien at this time.
So
Yeah.
basically, they bought a piece of property that had a lien that they were basically subject to pay the lien then?
Yes, all of the above.
Well, I
It
think
was
there
a
were
tax deed
multiple
sale.
parcels, right?
Yeah,
And the
there-
lien went across all the parcels.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, when you record your liens for code compliance issues, it is recorded against the owner, and that the previous owner owned more than this parcel. So there are two other parcels, and I believe that there is still a continuing violation on one of the parcels that this previous owner owned. So that's why we're in this situation. It's only happened once before since I've been with the county. So it is a unique circumstance, but it's up to the board whether or not the board wants to release this property or have that lien satisfied. And only this board can make that decision. But if you direct, staff will prepare a whole presentation for you, not a presentation, prepare a whole package for you with the specifics. But yes, at the tax deed sale, they bought with knowledge that there was a lien.
So the
Madam-
property in question, oh, I'm so sorry, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I think it would be reasonable, rather than just hearing for a brief 3 minutes and us making, trying to make a decision. Seems like it would be reasonable to ask or direct staff to bring back the details of it, and we'll have a lot more information than this board can make a decision.
Board members, do we have a consensus to have staff prepare and bring back to the next board meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And just to clarify, so I guess would I be in contact with somebody here to be able to produce all the evidence, or how would that work?
I believe that the code compliance staff and the legal secretary within code compliance has the information, so staff would be preparing that package, and we will provide a copy. My office has been in communication. I personally haven't been, but I know my office has been in communication with the attorney, so we'll make sure that he gets a copy of the package that's prepared.
And you have all their information then?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you
Excellent.
very much.
Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
Appreciate your time. I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Rick Matherson. I'm from Hernando, and earlier I dropped off a trade magazine for pump manufacturers for wastewater equipment. I can also, if you are so inclined or interested, get manufacturers for water, pump manufacturers. Do you have a way of reaching out to the various different manufacturers to see if they want to move here? Is there like a video that you send out, or how do you?
Yes,
generate?
right there in the middle, that gentleman that's got a really shiny head.
Oh, it's very shiny. Okay, so I can bring other trade magazines in if you are so inclined or interested.
If you would get with him, he is head of our economic development, and he has been working diligently and on task with getting into publications. So if you would work with him, that would be greatly
can do it.
appreciated. Thank you.
And then the secondary thing is, I agree with what John Labiola said about Elaine Clyde, and hopefully she'll be given a second shot when she reapplies. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to address the board? All right, last chance. We're closing open to the public. Board members, we're moving on to regular business.
Motion to approve E1A through E?
I think someone is still trying to make their way up. I apologize.
Hi there.
My name is Antonia, and I have some comments, and then I want some answers.
Could you please pull the mic a little bit
Oh,
closer?
sure.
We want to be, you can pull it down towards you. There you go.
Okay, yeah.
Can you say your name one more time and where
My
you're
name
from?
is Antonia. Okay.
And where are you from?
From where? From Florida, out
No,
here.
well, do you live here in the county?
Oh, yeah,
Okay, thank you.
okay. The police, they arrest people, right? And then the fire department, they put out fires, right? So what is the county doing to put a stop to the abominations? How could they dare let the children learn about pornography and they don't put a stop to it? How could that be allowed? What are we doing? What are the people doing? They're children, they're teaching them abominations, and they think it's all right. The county should put a stop to that. That's what the county is for. Why are you not putting a stop to the abominations, teaching little children about pornography? How dare they? That is horrible. Would you like your children to learn all that stuff? Anyway, do I get any answers from that?
Ma'am, are you referring to our library board?
I'm different, yes, to that, and to whoever is not doing something about it, not putting a stop to it.
We do have a library board advisory. They do meet, I believe, is it monthly?
Yeah, but they put in pornography in the books for children to read, and then they're allowing, everybody's allowing the children to listen to and watch pornography. How dare they? So please put a stop to that. That's what we're supposed to do.
Thank you for your comments.
Ma'am?
Ma'am, you'll have to fill out a green card.
Ma'am, you wanted an answer? You wanted an answer? So, citizens, if they disagree with a book in the library, there's a process they go through, and a citizen did that, and it went through the processes. So some books were moved, and I actually brought one to this board, and every single person on this board agreed to have it removed from the library. And at no time has children ever been able to view pornography. And then there was some debate over books. And the one very, very bad book this board did have removed from the library. And the library advisory board, as Commissioner Bays said, is reviewing in a constant process of reviewing books that citizens have a problem with.
Well, you know that the history books, it says that.
Wait. We're not going to do debate back and forth. That
No,
was just a
I'm
comment.
not going to debate. I'm
No.
just going to say something I forgot to say.
No, your time is up. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
You can always email me, but that's the answer I think that you were looking for.
I'm sorry.
Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
As a follow-up, and I'm sorry I didn't recognize this earlier, but the gentleman with the lien, that is actually already on your next agenda. Staff has been working with him, and it's
Great.
Sorry,
Thank
I
you.
forgot that.
Ma'am?
The history book says it's a mental disorder, and you're not doing anything about it? Wow.
Clerk, I know I had a motion by Commissioner Barrick, but I don't know who the second was. We didn't get done.
And she
on
said A through
bids.
E. Are we not doing F?
Okay.
So I had a motion by Commissioner Barrick for E1 through F. Is that correct?
A through F.
Yeah, go through
A
F.
through F.
Yes,
Second.
please.
And I have a second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, is there any further board comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Motion to approve E2.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kennard and a second by Commissioner Finnegan. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Motion to approve E3.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Davis, a second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor, or, I did do public comment, didn't I?
It's moving fast.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Eve?
Madam Chair, motion to approve E4.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Davis, a second by Commissioner Kennard. Do I have any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor?
I want to say something about that.
Yes, Commissioner Finnegan.
Sorry, Ken. I'm gonna vote for it because that's what we do. But we had this conversation at the last board meeting, and I know Ken is working feverishly. We're trying to correct the sins of the past. But even with all the help to reduce those fees from to the homeowner to that almost $14,000, we need to take a big bite out of the assessment, which is around $5,800. And on this project, I want to let you know we're not doing that. It's still going to be very high. I've been tasked with finding $4.3 million. So if y'all want to help with that, I would like all the help that we can get trying to get money to these projects until we can get on a better path. But there's going to be so many citizens, I'm just letting you all know, that are about to be impacted. And I'm sure we'll all hear when letters start going out and fees start coming. So
Put on the next item below that too.
I know. I only need to say it once, though. Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Motion to approve E5A and B.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Davis, a second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public input? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Motion to approve E6A and B.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Davis, a second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Motion to approve E7?
A and B.
A and B, yes, ma'am.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Finnegan and a second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion,
Sorry.
motion carries 5-0.
Motion to approve E8?
I have a motion by Commissioner Finnegan
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public input?
Chair, can I get clarification? Is that A and B?
I don't have an
I
8.
don't have an A and B. E8.
I do on my printed
thought
copy
you
that
did.
they put here.
Oh, it's not on my copy?
It's E8, A and B.
Yeah. Well, if you let me peek at yours real quick, I'll just do my due diligence here.
It's just pro forma.
Yes, A and B.
Okay, so we have a clarification of E8A and B. Commissioner Finnegan made the motion, Commissioner Kennard seconded it. Was there any public input? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Motion to approve E9.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kennard and a second by Commissioner Barrick. Is there any public input? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
I got a comment.
Oh,
I got one comment.
Commissioner Barrick.
I want people to realize that this money is from an enterprise account, which means it's not coming from your taxes. So, anytime something like that comes up, I'd like you to know, this is a separate pot of money.
All right, we did do our motion. We got a 5-0. All right, you guys are a tough crowd to wrangle today.
Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
did we get the vote on that?
We
We didn't
did,
vote.
and then we went back to her for her
Going
vote.
back to my comment.
We had a 5-0.
We had a 5-0.
E10,
Motion to approve E10.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kennard and a second by Commissioner Barrick. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Motion to approve E11.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kennard, a second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any public comment? Is there any further board comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Motion to approve E12.
Second?
I have a motion by Commissioner Kennard, a second by Commissioner Finnegan. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, is there any further board comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Motion to approve E13.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kennard and a second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any public input? Seeing none, is there any further board comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Motion to approve E15.
14?
No, we pulled it.
We
Oh, we pulled it, sorry.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kennard, a second by Commissioner Finnegan. Is there any public input? Seeing none, any further board comment? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Motion to approve E16.
I have a motion by Commissioner
Second.
Kennard, a second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any public input? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Motion to approve E17.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Davis and a second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public input? Do you want to say something? You don't need to, but we always want to hear from you. You're committed now.
I mean, you're here. First, good afternoon, and thank you so much for your time. I would officially like to...
Name for the record.
Oh, sorry. Melissa Bowermaster, Executive Director of Jesse's Place.
Thank you.
I am here today to ask for an official letter of support for our building expansion project. As you're aware, we've put in a appropriations request for $200,000 this year for design and construction management services. Certainly, you guys have demonstrated your support and commitment to the project through the 50-year lease, but I would like to include an official letter of support to our package to Senator Ngoya and Representative Grow.
All right, I think we can make that happen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Ms. Campshire, we have any outstanding commission items?
Speak to you guys from down here today. We do have a couple of slides for some non-outstanding commission item projects. These are projects that we have under management in progress, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to let everyone know where we stand with them. So I'm sure you've seen on social media, we have reopened the swimming area for Fort Island Gulf Beach. That is an aerial photo taken after the reopening. We've also had a chance to go ahead and open the boat launch at Fort Island. So currently, both the swimming area and the boat launch are available for public use. There is still a lot to be done at that location, but we're excited about that. Reopening Bicentennial Pool is imminent. We're just waiting on the final water testing and all of the parts and pieces to come back online. It's been retiled, and once again, that's an aerial photo from after that renovation. And finally, we are on track to complete the new pickleball courts. We're looking to try and get that done in the month of March and have it all buttoned up by April, so we will continue to give updates on that item. But those are 4 relatively exciting and high-profile things I thought you guys would like to know about. And for our regular outstanding commission items update, the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council's vulnerability assessment is currently being prepared, the final report. That's about 25% complete for the final, and I have been in communication with Amy Bidwell from the TBRPC, and she is excited to get on an upcoming agenda to present the results of that assessment to you all. So it will be coming off shortly.
So you're saying it's only 25% complete?
The final, but this is based on a draft that is fully complete. They've done a little bit more analysis and some public input. They have to button that up, and then the final draft will be what was presented to you.
And do you know, maybe staff can answer this, or maybe Commissioner Kennard knows, did Crystal River do a separate one, or was that combined in with ours?
We participated with the city of Inverness, and the city of Crystal River had a separate vulnerability assessment since they're a more unique coastal community.
Okay, all right.
And so I have that currently coming to you in March or April. For last year's road resurfacing and preservation, we are still waiting on some final completion for District 3's paving, about 97% complete for that. Punch list items only. Once we get those punch list items completed, District 3 will be considered complete for last fiscal year. And the next step would be for that vendor to begin resurfacing in District 5, which should be happening any day. This year's road resurfacing is going along as expected. The Crystal River Connector Trail, our staff has an on-site scoping meeting scheduled with the engineering consultant for the 28th of February, so we'll know more about what that will entail moving forward from there. And the impact fee study, currently in progress, it's about 50%. And the next step would be to review the draft study, provide staff input, and then get a final version of that impact fee study to the board.
Can you talk with Amy Bidwell and possibly ask if they can put the gas on our vulnerability study? I think it'd be really nice for us to be able to have that when we go for our legislative days in Tallahassee.
I will absolutely reach out to her after this meeting.
If we can make it happen, but.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Just a question for Steve. With, as much as I hate to say it, our hurricane season bearing down on us again with less than 100 days out from it at this point, we know that Ozello Trail is a problem. That's something that has been discussed both publicly and in private meetings for a number of years. I've been up here on the board now. When the price tag was first mentioned, it was around $10 million is what we're looking at. Now I'm hearing north of $15 million, and I don't really know what the plan is. I think that is something that we probably should have on our list of items that are discussed on a regular basis. Who are we talking to about this? What is our plan? That road has to be shored up. The shoulders are sloughing off into the marsh. And it's, I don't want to say that it's one storm away from cutting off access to all those people that live out there, but I'd rather see us moving along a path to this is how we're going to shore up this road, because it is very, very vulnerable out there. And I just don't know what we're doing about it to make something happen there, whether the plan is 3 years from now or 5 years from now, or we don't have a plan. So anyway, I think that needs to be openly discussed on a regular basis.
We'll do that. Actually, it was on my mind last week with the Department of Commerce because I got a phone call that they got a bunch of money. So they came to meet with me and we actually talked about that project specifically. They've got about $900 million to distribute, and that's the one we're going to put right, on the radar. But we'll bring all that back with what our thoughts are internally. Obviously, it's not getting cheaper. It's going to continue to go up. It's a F-bomb, but we'll bring all that back and put what I call the OTH on the horizon. That way it's right in front of us so we don't forget about it, but actually give you the best plan that we can at this point. And of course, funding's required to do that, but we'll bring it back and make sure that we have that forefront and center.
Maybe it'll set.
That's the reason that vulnerability study is so important, because that comes with buckets of money.
Yes. If I may, Chair, I'd just like to, for the record, clarify that the vulnerability assessment must be completed prior to Citrus County becoming eligible for any Resilient Florida funding. So there's a lot of available programs at the state and federal levels, but most of the state funding is going to be predicated on the completion of this assessment.
Well, maybe there'll be more money flow our way if Ken Cheek can run a sewer line out there.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Davis?
I just want to give kudos to staff, Mr. Head, et cetera, for getting Fort Island Gulf Beach opened well ahead of schedule. On a fun little sidebar, Sunday was a glorious day to go flying, so I went flying and flew down the river and took pictures of Dr. Desai's new hotel pad, took pictures of a packed Gulf Beach, not nearly as cool as Miles Saunders' great, drone videos. He can get a lot lower legally than I can. But then just for you, Commissioner Kennard, I took pictures of Pirates Cove.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. You done? All right. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you.
Mr. Howard, you are up.
Yes, this is I'm going to do this on behalf of Aaron, but this is to set the FY 25-26 Capital Improvement Program presentation, the 5-year plan for Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025 at 1:15 p.m. at the Citrus County Courthouse, 110 North Apopka Avenue, Room 100, Inverness, Florida, right here in this room. Seeking approval to have that be the date that we discuss that.
When are we going to start talking about a 10-year CIP? Or maybe longer, since all the inflation is
we're doing our best. We're looking at 5. We're actually talking about 10 internally with staff, but we'll see what we can bring forward at that meeting.
And is there anything, I mean, I'm just going to use that as an example, but I know it's a sore spot. The animal shelter was talked about for years, but never put on the CIP. Are there projects right now that we're talking about or that are not in the CIP, but should be in the CIP because we're talking about them and have been talking about them?
Yeah, I think we'd have to look at with staff, and sometimes obviously some of these got to have numbers, and that's always the difficult part because you'd be held accountable for numbers that aren't real numbers. So that's always a tricky part, even with the animal shelter. If you had funding and then you're trying to put some kind of number, but then if it shifts, it moves, and you get criticized for having numbers that aren't accurate. I like accurate numbers, but I see you're forward thinking. Yes, you need to do that. And if Aaron wants to come forward and talk a little bit about what we're doing internally with staff, but there's a lot of projects, obviously, that we need to look at for the future. The interactive growth model, I think, is going to help us as well because we're actually going to have some more concrete, comprehensive ability to actually look into the future a little bit better. But we're doing some of that internally with staff, trying to make sure we're forecasting better.
Hi there.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. So yes, when we bring the CIP back, currently it's a 5-year CIP. What we asked departments to do this year was also submit projects like in a list to us, looking 10 years out. Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't know. We also did a presentation regarding projects, project status, and project funding recently. And so we will look at that when we're doing the CIP. And then when we bring that back to you, if there are any projects that you all can think of that you say, hey, I know it's out there, but we're not talking about it yet. We want it added in there, even if there is no, say, number or funding at this point. If you just want it put in there so that we know to talk about it, we can do that. And just so you know, Commissioner Kennard, those LO projects are actually on our LMS listing. So they are looked at. And I believe it was about 1.5 years ago, we did put in for a request for funding of that project. It was not selected, but we are looking at it. LMS does look at it, and we do look for funding for it. So hopefully, like we were saying with the vulnerability assessment being completed, that will open up other funding opportunities for the county.
I guess just because it's on my mind, sitting here in this facility, that, you know, we've heard about space needs from our judges. We know that we, you know, are in a growth pattern. We're going to have more housing, more residents. At some point, we're going to need additional space. Like, I know it's not that something we're going to walk out and do tomorrow, but looking at something that we get it in there, knowing that we're talking about it, knowing that we're putting aside something towards it.
So if you want, right now we have a judicial renovation project in CIP. That is the funding that we're going to use for the Koch building and for the second floor. Just so you all are aware, I did receive a request for the third floor of the courthouse renovation recently to be added to the CIP. So that project will be added. If you want, we can put that in with the one we currently have, or we can keep them separate. We could also add a third project for, say, future expansion. And what we could do is we could either have that county-wide, or we could say future expansion of county courthouse, future expansion of, say, county, you know, building, future expansion. So when you get that report back and we look at, you know, what we need as far as space, if you say, hey, the idea is we want to expand these certain buildings, we can definitely put them in the CIP at that point. And just because we bring it to you in April and we review it, it's not fully approved until you all approve it in September when we do the final budget hearing. So between now and then, when we get that study back, if you say these are the ones we want added, we will go ahead, add those in, like I said, regardless if there's funding or not. So if we just know we want to expand and we need to work on getting space, or we need to work on an estimate for that project, we can do that.
So I think when we get the Metro forecast study that comes back, we're going to be able to kind of drill through that and anticipate what we're going to look like in a growth pattern for our county, and where that growth is going to go, and how many more citizens are going to come, how many more households, and then probably garner and judge a little bit off of that what's going to be needed to facilitate that. And maybe not necessarily that we're putting something dollar amount to it, but put a category in our CIP that we know this is coming and that it comes to the forefront, that you're talking about it every year, so that you can, as that starts to roll around, then yes, now's the time to pull the trigger, and now's the time to start funding for 10 years from now, or whatever that case may be. But
OTH is what I call it, on the horizon. That's what we've been, staff's, that's a term I've been using a lot, saying that we're just looking at it, but you have a good point. Plus the space needs analysis is gonna help us and assist us as well. But I think all those are good points you're saying that we can incorporate, kind of going forward. You have a better blueprint than what you have currently.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Barrick?
Aaron, I got a question. How many years has the space needs for the judicial been on that CIP? Because they've been coming here for at least 5 years saying they need space. So I'd like to know, as a new commissioner, how long it's been on there and how much actual money has been set aside?
So this one I would have to look. I believe this is going to be the third year this particular project's in the CIP. There's 2.9 million in that project right now. When we come back with the CIP, the projection is there will be a request for another 3.5 million to do both of those buildings. At least that was the last estimate I was provided. I know previously there were discussions, especially the previous county administrator and a previous board were looking at options. We're talking about funding. I don't know how far that went. I know there was some work done as far as design over at the Koch building in previous years. And Public Works would probably be able to give you a better breakdown of what occurred then. But
So
that's
the-
where it is now.
So what you're saying is the 1 million that was supposed to be set aside each year has not been set aside each year. So therefore, we've still got to wait for next year's funding to get at least almost just under 6 million to try to start the project.
Well, my understanding is it's currently in design. So the project has started as far as designing the Koch building and the second floor renovation. I don't know, again, Director Hall may be able to better explain what happened, but there was a time the Koch building was considered, and then there was a time the Koch building was not considered. I believe last year when we were talking about the budget, the Koch building wasn't being considered at that time, so only 2.9 was needed to do the renovation upstairs. Now the Koch building is being used or will be used to house some employees, some services. And so now that there needs to be money for that as well as the second floor renovation.
So what we're looking at is the judicial is not going to move anywhere for almost 3 years.
I don't know that it's judicial that's moving. You're just talking about the extra space on the second floor?
Right. In other words, the judges probably will not have any space for about 3 years, the way you're talking.
I would have to ask Director Hall. I'm not sure how long it's going to take to design and or do the renovations and move the employees.
Chair, Commissioners, Carlton Hall, Public Works Director. So really to go back to where it started from, when Mr. Oliver was here, it was thought of and talked about with the judicial system of moving a courtroom into the Koch building. And that's really where we were off to the races. After Mr. Oliver left and Mr. Howard came in, we reevaluated, make more sense to keep judges and courtrooms in the courthouse. And at that time, it was decided that others on the second floor need to move to another building, and the Koch building would be the opportune location. So that's
Yes.
really where we're starting now.
And I remember it was also supposed to be $1 million per year set aside for this project. And I'm sure Mr. Kennard was here on the board when it was talked about and it was decided when Mr. Kitchen was the chair. So the thing is, the money hasn't been set aside. The space has not been created yet. Okay, you made the supervisor of election move to Meadowcrest. And we still sit here, and I'm looking at approximately 3 years before anything is actually physically going to be moved.
So when we think about timelines, right now we have 2.9 million, so we roughly have the $3 million we need to go ahead and move folks from the second floor to where they have to go to make space for the judicial renovations on the second floor. So the 3.5 million that we're going to be saving up for will be the next budget process for CIP. That will allow us to get those folks that are currently on the second floor out, and then the 3.5 million would allow us to do the design and construction on the second floor to put 2 courtrooms for the judicial system.
Okay, so what am I looking at as a timeline? 1 year, 2 year, 3 year?
If I had to guess, I would say we're probably 6 to 7 months before the design is complete. The design is going to be both for the Coke building as well as the second floor of the courthouse. After that, we will go out to bid for construction on the Coke building. That would be the first job that we do, get the folks that are on the second floor into the new locations. Once that is done, we would already have the design to go out to bid then for the second floor and start the renovations once they have moved out.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Kennard.
a couple points. First of all, what I heard was that, that this second floor renovation has been on the CIP for 3 years, and there's $2.9 million. That's pretty close to $1 million a year that's been set aside for that. And I know the history of the Coke building being involved, not involved. What caught my attention this time, though, was that you're going to be looking for an additional $3.5 million. That's to renovate the Coke building?
No, so that would be to renovate the second floor of the courthouse, to put 2 courtrooms and the associated offices for the judges.
And the $2.9 million that's set aside?
That is for the Coke building renovations to get the folks on the second floor to where they need to be.
So it's $3 million to renovate the Coke building, $2.9 million? Oof.
Things have gotten expensive.
That's very expensive.
What's the square footage of that building?
Wasn't the Adams building, the entire Adams building, wasn't that for sale for $2 million? Wasn't that the offer?
2.2
Or
unfinished.
that he threw out there?
2.2 unfinished, yes.
Now, I know that needed some finishing on the inside and so forth, but maybe there needs to be a little bit more talk about this. I mean, that seems, I don't know, that just seems like an awful small space to spend $3 million on a renovation.
I know at the time, we were looking at not only renovating the Coke building, but also tying the Coke building to the courthouse for security purposes. That was part of that 2.9. So we're in hopes that the bids that come back for the renovation of the Coke building be well less of that 2.9. It just happens to be that what we have in CIP currently.
Yeah, and that connecting to the courthouse, I believe that was just for security purposes when we're going to do a courtroom over there, correct? So all of that may not necessarily be appropriate. And we didn't force the supervisor of elections to go to Meadowcrest. That was her choice to go to Meadowcrest. And there was a lot of discussion about, I believe, is it state statute requires that the supervisor of elections have some presence in the county seat. And Susan Gill made that happen. However that happened, we didn't ask, but the county commission didn't force her out of there.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Davis.
So that makes a lot more sense when you talk about that it won't be connected to the courthouse anymore, because that would, because of just the security concerns, it would drive the cost up pretty high. When I asked the question about why the second floor cost as much as the estimate is, the part of the answer was an extraordinary amount of electronics that have to be installed because it's courtrooms. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're currently in the process of a project to revamp the existing courtrooms, to bring up the AV products that are inside of those courtrooms up to current standards. So that's a separate CIP project that we have going on. So as we develop new courtrooms, that electronics has to be added to those new courtrooms, as well as server room upgrades and locations for all this equipment to be housed on the second floor.
So the high-level question for the Coke building would be, do we have any sort of similar high-dollar electronic type needs over there? Because that is the public defender that's moving over there, is that correct?
We're not sure just yet. We're still looking with the space needs folks as who would go where. But we definitely need to make the space. We have, of course, the commission is on the second floor, BOCC is on the second floor, as well as legal, and then also the public defender and a small portion of the state attorney's office is on the second floor that we'll have to find space for.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense. Thank you, Madam Chair.
What's the square footage of the Coke building?
Almost 8,000 square feet.
It's bigger than it looks.
All right. Have any other questions? Thank you, Carl. Thank you. All right. I think he's just, I don't think we have to do anything. Advisory Board, we don't have anything there. Commissioner Davis, do you have anything?
I do. I have a update on the Medical Examiner Board. As you'll recall, last time I said that my recommendation would be if the six-county board was breaking up and we already have the property and some expenses that have been incurred by Marion County, I was going to recommend that we do the same percentage that we normally do for our portion of the operating expenses, with the possible caveat that, and I just made this up in my head, turns out I was right, Marion County has decided that if we don't move forward with building the new morgue, they will keep the property. And so we would not be charged for the property. They will keep that. So the total amount is what Marion County would like very much for the other 5 counties to do right now is to just start off with a clean slate. All of us pay a portion of the expenses to date, and then we start over with whatever counties are going forward to build a new morgue, and it would use that property. And so we'll be back on track with all the numbers that I've presented to Aaron, with the most likely issue of it being a little bit more expensive because there's going to be fewer counties sharing in this morgue, which, by the way, yes, does drive me nuts as a fiscal conservative. So the total is actually not bad. The base expenses to date are going to be somewhere for our share, which is 8.88%, I think is what I calculated, is somewhere between 10 and 16,000, and that'll start the clean sheet of paper. Going forward, it is was made absolutely clear by Seminole County that they are leaving the district flat out, and they are trying to pull Lake with them so they can share a morgue with the 2 counties. Lake County is the overarching issue, at least with Lake County. I mean, Seminole's just done. The overarching issue with Lake County is that they believe that the population share is not fair because some counties have more use of the morgue than others per capita, and so they would like us to look at that again. And so as a board, we decided to offer Lake that we would go back to the drawing board on that if they were open to it, to stay within, so from our perspective as Citrus County and the other counties that are staying in, it becomes which is better math? Do we save enough by having 5 counties build the morgue to add a little bit to some of the counties' apportionment? And some counties will go down, right? So obviously Lake County's apportionment, if we change the formula, what they're looking for is a little bit lesser share, which is pretty minor math. But I will get with Aaron and, fortunately I'm pretty good with math myself, but we can figure out what's the best way to go to negotiate that. So that's the fairly convoluted update. Do y'all have any questions?
Ms. Lynn? I don't know whether Commissioner Davis knows this or not, but we did get a letter from Marion County, trying to find the date. Oh, February 14th. I don't know if that was copied to you or not, but the Citrus's share is $9,796.98.
That probably doesn't include it depends on how the wording is, because there was 2 parts. And I did round up. It was the base amount is $9,796.98. Is that what that says?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The what's probably not in that letter is that there is a $69,000 construction manager fee. And so to be shared with the 6 counties, they probably haven't used all of that yet. So we're waiting to hear from the construction manager what that amount would be, and then that would be added to our share, that would be added to the 97, 96, 98.
And Madam Chair, if I might, and again, I don't think you've seen the letter, but
I
in the
really
letter.
wish they would copy me on this. I know it goes to the chair, but seriously, that would be helpful.
Actually,
You
it went
didn't
to Mr. Howard.
Okay.
So it's, if the project were to, the construction manager has been requested, and they've come back and said there will be no fee charged because they believe that when the project is eventually done, that they will be again contacted to do it. So they're not charging the $69,000.
Well, that's awfully nice of them.
Yes.
All right.
So that's
So
the,
there's your number, Aaron. 9796.98.
Commissioner Kennard.
Yeah, no questions, but just a comment that I can appreciate your board revisiting the formula that's used to determine whether or not Lake has a valid case, that, if they feel like it's not a fair formula, they'd like for the board to revisit it. So my only comment would be that I think that's a great thing to do. I would love to see our Water Authority Board do the same thing.
I
Citrus
knew it
County-
was going to come back to that.
Citrus County is in a very bad position with our Regional Water Supply Authority. We are the only county in the 4-county group that pays for our water. We pay for every single gallon that comes out of the Charles A. Black well field. And I have taken it to that board. I've pleaded with them for over 8 years now to revisit this, and we've gotten nowhere with it. So kudos to your board for taking another look at that to make sure that keep your members happy and that everything is fair as it should be.
Madam Chair. I do wish that they had not pulled this level of drama. Maybe they could have had this conversation with us prior. But what really complicates this is that I think, and I'd be interested in y'all's opinion on this, the fair thing to do is that basically we pay for the autopsies of people that reside in Citrus County. But then you have people that are coming, or that are transient, that, how does that end up getting billed, right? And then you look at trauma centers, like Marion County has a lot of people die there because they've got a level 1 trauma center. Okay, so it gets incredibly complex, and that's why we just went with population share, because pretty soon you start spending a lot of staff time to go through the machinations of figuring this stuff out, when it's really just a few $1,000s in a $500 million budget. So it gets a little crazy on trying to chase those nickels.
Sure.
So if you have any thoughts or ideas, I'm open to it.
I have a thought. I
Yes.
think this is a division of our state that happens throughout the local counties that should be given back to the state. Shouldn't even be ran by local governments. It's crazy.
I love the big thinking that you bring, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, maybe when they start doing their audits, they'll see the light. Commissioner Kennard, going back to your point, would you like to put something on the agenda to formally ask them to revisit on the water board?
I think that's water under the bridge, Commissioner. I don't think it's going anywhere. They own the well field now at this point. I'm not sure if they still own the facility. There was some discussion about us potentially taking ownership of the facility, but they would continue to own the well field, which means we would continue to be the only county in the Regional Water Supply Authority that pays for every gallon of our water that comes out of the Charles A. Black well field.
Commissioner Finnegan?
Why is that? Are other counties using the same well field and not paying?
No, they've got their own. They did not have the Water Supply Authority build their facilities for them. They built their own facilities. So the Water Supply Authority did provide for the resources to build the Charles A. Black, and then Citrus County was paying them back for the cost of that. We got to, and I'm just back of the napkin numbers here. I think the total cost was just shy of $1.5 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. We had repaid roughly about $700,000 of that up until it was just before the primary in 2016, coincidentally enough, that the county commission at that time decided to sign a contract and change the funding, how we paid the Water Supply Authority back for that facility. And rather than a set number, we went to paying them per 1,000 gallons or something like that of water that comes out of that in perpetuity. There's no end to it.
Past the $1.5 million.
It's, yes, yeah. that has gone by the wayside. So we repaid up until about that 700,000, and then the deal changed just before a local election, and the board at that time approved it. Naturally, the Water Supply Authority Board was all on board with it. Swift Mud was all on board. The Water Supply Authority actually got a grant from Swift Mud to help build or help fund the construction of this facility in Citrus County. And so when there was discussion, when I was previously pushing this along to try and get some traction to it, of us actually controlling our water supply facility as all three other counties control their own water supply facilities, it made it actually to a discussion point at Swift Mud amongst their board members. And they said, well, if the Water Supply Authority puts that facility up for sale, and they wanted appraised and all of that type of stuff, which was absolutely nuts. But if they were going to put it up for sale, that the district might actually want to buy it, rather than allowing Citrus County to buy it for whatever the remaining balance was. We took a figure to them 1 year that was to pay off the remaining balance, plus any interest that the Water Supply Authority felt that they had lost along the way. And so there was a number that was presented to that board. And coincidentally enough, every single member of that board showed up for that meeting to vote against it. Now we did, I shouldn't say every single member, because we did have the support of Hernando County, but Commissioner Carnahan and I and the Hernando County representatives weren't enough to beat the vote from Sumter County and Marion County. So we lost that vote to be able to take the facility back.
How does that affect them financially if they would vote in favor for Citrus County?
Because right now, we pay them, see, each county in the Regional Water Supply Authority pays an administrative fee based on population, similar to what Commissioner Davis was talking about. So each of the 4 counties pay that in. We're the only county that pays per 1,000 gallons of water that comes out of the ground. That goes to the Water Supply Authority. And you hear me make my, I guess, kind of sharp remarks about the irrigation grants and all these different grants where the Water Supply Authority is giving us this grant money. Well, we've already paid them for water that came out of the ground, and then they use that money and grant out to other counties. That's how they can, that's where they generate their grant money. Now they do get some from the district as well, but we also send them a healthy check for the water that comes out of the ground. We also provide for all the repairs for the facility, that the repairs are done with our staff. So we nearly repaid the facility. We do all the repairs. Our folks do all the repairs, and we pay for all the water that comes out of the ground. Now, I've talked about this just so much at the Water Authority in here, but you know, my pitch to them was either everyone's in, either the regional authority controls everybody's water supplies or controls nobody's. At some point, we're either all in the pool together or we're not. And Tampa Bay Water, that's when they all went through their water wars years ago. That's ultimately how all of that was settled. That Tampa Bay Water controls all those water production facilities in those different counties. And that's how the water supply is managed down here. Down there. Up here, the regional water supply has one facility. It's ours. Not very fair.
Doesn't sound that way.
And we've made some fair offers to try and make it fair, and they've got us outvoted. So anyway,
Can we use our delegation to help? Our legislative delegation?
no, we've had those conversations in the past, and the only way that that Citrus County regains control of the well field and the facility is if the Regional Water Supply Authority is dissolved. If they're dissolved, then that facility comes back under our control.
Thank you for the history.
Yeah. All right. So I don't think it's going anywhere. Just a little sour about it is all.
Do you feel any better?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Kennard, you are up.
Yes,
More history coming. Everybody hold on.
yeah, at the last meeting, we had a gentleman come up and speak during public input about this bill. I believe it's a Senate bill that requires hands-free use of cell phones while the vehicle's in motion, and was asking us to bring forth a resolution supporting this. Naturally, that's not something we can pass a resolution, but this is an argument that's going to be had up in Tallahassee. I do think, given the number of accidents, the number of fatalities that are happening, I think it's a good idea for us to do this. So that's why I've put this on here. I would like to see this board support it, send it off to our representative and our senator, and let them argue it up there. Now, when previously, when the representative, the female representative that I talked about before, when she brought this forward, I believe her sister was killed by somebody, a distracted driver, and she brought forth some legislation up there. Commissioner Smith wrongly chided her for how she was doing this by going to the different counties around the state to generate support from the Board of County Commissioners. Ultimately, she was successful in getting her bill passed, but that bill only applies to school zones, that you're required to use a hands-free device while in a school zone. This legislation would be anytime you're in the car. And certainly, the cell phone companies, the technology is there that they could have addressed this by now. That, a phone in that driver's seat cannot be operated, without a hands-free device. There's no doubt in my mind, given the technology that we have today, that they could do that. They just don't have an interest in doing that. And so the argument is, no, we don't need this because people will just hold their phones down low where the police can't see them, and that's going to take their eyes off the road. It's nonsense. 31 states have passed these things. It's time for the state of Florida to pass some legislation. And they're not prohibiting us from using cell phones in the car. You just have to do it hands-free. Keep your eyes focused on the road. Citrus County, sitting on the MPO board, we have heard, and we will hear over and over again, how poorly Citrus County and Hernando County rank statewide, as well as the cities, both Inverness and Crystal River, rank very poorly statewide for the number of bad accidents that we have, the number of fatalities. And many, many of those accidents are due to distracted driving. Can be eating, but a lot of it is due to cell phone use. So I would make a motion that we pass this resolution, send it to Tallahassee, and encourage our legislators to go to bat for us and try and make our roads a little safer.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kennard.
I'll second it.
I have a second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, is there any further board comment?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Barrett.
I know I have a car that I don't have to hands on the phone. However, I have two cell phones. It doesn't recognize two cell phones. So if I'm on a phone and my other phone rings, it doesn't, it just keeps ringing and ringing and ringing. I come from a state, and I hate to say that had the hands-free. It didn't make any difference with the number of accidents. And if you've been on our roads, especially in my district in Beverly Hills, you will see drivers go from the far right lane on Forest Hill Boulevard and turn left onto 486 by the Walgreens without a single blinker or looker or nothing. And there's nothing distracting them except they're thinking, I need to turn left here. And it's, and it's like, whoop. And I've seen that all over the county, not just in my district and at that corner. I've also seen people that turned left off of Forest Ridge during election time onto the one lane of, Roosevelt? And I brought it to the board and they said, yeah, well, we took care of it. We put a sign up and it didn't make any difference. If you still go there by the library, they still turn into the wrong lane. And there's many accidents. And it has nothing to do with the cell phones. Now, I don't mind signing a letter send a letter, sign it. Okay, but there are other things to distract drivers, and I just wanted to bring that up because I'm sure other board members know of other things to distract. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're very welcome. Like suicide lanes. Yeah. Board members, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Board.
Commissioner Barrick, do you have anything for the board?
Not for this meeting.
Commissioner Finnegan?
Nothing.
I don't really have anything. Commissioner Barrick, I hear what you're saying, but I mean, there's so many things that we could be doing. The list is endless, I mean, I have a complete hate for these, what I call the suicide lane down the middle of the highway. And I also do not like the idea that we have Highway 44 that's 60 miles an hour, and then you have side streets and you have driveways and there's no planning, and we're just gonna keep building more and have another driveway and go 60 miles an hour. And it's ludicrous. So yes, there's lots of things that we could be doing, but there's the idea that you just take one bite of the apple at a time. So good job, Commissioner Kennard. Ms. Lynn?
I have nothing, thank you.
All right. We are down to one last open to the public. Would anybody like to address the board?
But and I listened to discussion, and since I'm retired law enforcement, 31 years.
Could you give your name for the board?
Oh, Ty Cloud, and I live in Homosassa.
Thank you.
The only problem I have with that resolution is you say hands-free while driving. It should be hands-free, period. Because I don't know if you see it, but I see a lot of times when I'm sitting at a light and the light turns and nobody moves because we're sitting there playing on our phones. So it should be hands-free, period. Not just while driving, but while you're in the vehicle, period. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Yay.